Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told Us podcast. Today we're diving headfirst into a mystery that, well, it's captivated people for 2 decades now.
It really has. A truly unsettling story.
We're talking about the disappearance of Maura Murray.
Right. Maura was just 21, a nursing student at UMass Amherst.
And in February 2004, she vanished, just gone. Her whereabouts are still completely unknown.
It's the circumstances leading up to it that are just so strange.
Absolutely. Let's set the scene. Monday, February 9th, 2004. Maura starts doing some, well, unusual things.
Yeah, like emailing her professors, her supervisor, telling them there had been a death in the family.
Which wasn't true. She completely made it up.
It feels very deliberate, creating this reason to be absent.
And then there's the packing, her dorm room. Most of it was packed up in boxes.
Even art off the walls. It wasn't like packing for a weekend trip. It looked more final.
What was she thinking? What was the plan?
Exactly. Then, that afternoon, she hits an ATM, takes out $280.
Goes to a liquor store, buys about $40 worth of alcohol. Alone.
And it's a weird selection, too. Bailey's, Kahlua, vodka, box wine.
Yeah, not exactly a typical party run. And maybe the strangest detail. She picks up blank accident report forms.
Those forms. What do you make of that? Was she anticipating something? Or has something already happened?
It's one of those details that just hangs there, unanswered.
We know her last cell phone use was checking voicemail. That was 4:37 p.m.
After that, silence. And the biggest question, where was she going?
She didn't tell anyone. There's no note, no email, nothing solid pointing to a destination. It's like she just drove off the edge of the map.
Was she running away? Running to something? That unknown destination is key.
It really shapes the whole mystery.
So let's move to that evening, February 9th. Haverhill, New Hampshire. Route 112, Wild Amonasuk Road, pretty remote area.
Around 7 p.m., a local woman hears a loud thump, looks outside.
And sees Maura's car, a black Saturn, up against a snowbank. But here's the thing, it's facing west, but on the eastbound side of the road.
Facing the wrong way. So clearly, some kind of spin-out or accident. She calls 911 at 7:27 p.m.
And the initial report from this witness, it mentioned maybe seeing a man smoking in the car.
Yeah, but she later walked that back a bit. Said it could have been a red glow, maybe a cell phone light or something. It shows how perception can be tricky.
Definitely. Then, a few minutes later, a school bus driver who lives nearby comes along. He stops.
He sees Maura. She's outside the car. He says she wasn't bleeding, but she was cold, shivering.
He offers to call for help, right?
Right, but she refuses. Says something like, I already called AAA.
But AAA has no record of any call from her.
None whatsoever. And crucially, she pleaded with him, don't call the police.
Why? Why refuse help? Why specifically avoid the police?
Well, it turns out she had another minor single-car accident just days before in her dad's car. Maybe she was worried about getting in trouble again, or didn't want attention drawn to whatever she was doing.
It's plausible. So the bus driver, knowing cell service, is terrible there.
Yeah, basically non-existent in that spot.
He drives home maybe a mile or so down the road and calls the police himself. That's at 7:43 p.m.
And he mentioned seeing other cars pass the scene before the police got there.
Okay, so there's a window of time there. But then there's another conflicting account.
Right. Another local resident claimed she saw a police SUV, like vehicle number 001, actually at the scene earlier, around 7:37 p.m., nose-to-nose with Maura's Saturn.
Before the official arrival time, and she saw no one around either vehicle.
Exactly. It contradicts the official police log and just adds more confusion to those critical early minutes. What was going on?
So the official police arrival is logged at 7:46 p.m.
And by that time, Maura's gone. Vanished.
The car's there. Damaged. It hit a tree on the driver's side, headlight smash, radiator pushed in, windshield cracked, airbags deployed.
And the car's locked.
Locked! That's such a strange detail. If she just wandered off, maybe dazed.
Yeah.
Why lock the car? Or who locked it?
It suggests deliberation. Either by her, for some reason, or someone else.
Inside and around the car, they find out, well, a collection of things.
Some red stains, look like red wine spilled, an empty beer bottle, the damaged Franzia box.
Or a AAA card. Those blank accident report forms again.
Gloves, CDs, makeup, some diamond jewelry.
Driving directions to Burlington, Vermont, that seems like a possible clue to her destination.
It does. Maybe that's where she was headed. But why the secrecy? Also found her favorite stuffed animal and a book, Not Without Peril, about hiking accidents in the White Mountains.
Kind of ominous given the location.
Very. But then you look at what's missing.
Her debit card, credit cards, cell phone, all gone.
And none of them have ever been used since that day. Not once.
Police also noted some of the alcohol she bought earlier was missing from the car.
So the missing phone, the missing cards, it doesn't really fit someone just, walking away to start fresh somewhere else. It points to something more sudden, maybe something unplanned.
Initially, the police leaned towards voluntary disappearance because of the packing, the emails.
Right, and no obvious signs of a struggle right there at the car.
But later, the case was moved to the cold case unit, reclassified as suspicious.
That change tells you that even law enforcement felt the simple explanation didn't quite add up. Too many inconsistencies.
Okay, then there's this other potential sighting, later in the evening.
Yeah, a contractor driving east on Route 112, maybe 4 or 5 miles east of the crash site, between 8000 and 0000, yeah.
What did he see?
He saw a young person moving quickly on foot along the road, also heading east. Described them wearing jeans, a dark coat, maybe a light-colored hood.
Could that have been Maura walking away from the scene?
It's possible. But the thing is, he didn't report it for 3 months. He wasn't sure of a date until he checked his work records.
So 3 months later, memory can be fuzzy. Its reliability is a question mark.
Absolutely. And if it was her, why walk east, further into the mountains, away from towns, in the dark and cold?
Good point. Back at the crash scene that night, the first officer and the bus driver did a quick search of the immediate area.
Right. EMS arrived, a fire truck too. The car gets towed away by 8:49 p.m.
And here's another one of those really bizarre details. A rag, apparently from Maura's own roadside emergency kit,
was found stuffed into the tailpipe of the Saturn.
What on earth is that about? Trying to cause the car to stall. Was it put there before the crash? After? By who?
Nobody knows. It's just another deeply weird element in a case full of them. It makes no obvious sense.
It took almost 24 hours after she was last seen by the bus driver for Maura to be officially declared missing.
Which seems like a long time. But sometimes these things take time to unfold. The initial investigation started with a be on the lookout alert.
They brought in tracking dogs, right?
Yes. They used one of Maura's gloves. The dog picked up a scent, followed it east from the car, along the road.
For how far?
Like about 100 yards. Then the scent just stopped. Dead end.
Which often suggests the person got into a vehicle at that point.
Exactly. It strengthens the theory she didn't just walk off into the woods right there, but possibly left the area in another car, voluntarily or not.
Her boyfriend arrived soon after he was questioned. Police, at least initially, were considering maybe she ran away, or maybe even suicide.
Theories her family immediately rejected. They knew Maura, and they felt strongly those didn't fit her character or situation.
And their perspective is crucial. Then there's that voicemail.
Ah, yes. The voicemail her boyfriend received on his phone, it sounded like. Well, he believed it was Maura sobbing.
Just the sound of sobbing, chilling.
And it was traced back to a calling card. An American Red Cross calling card, apparently.
Where did that come from? Why a calling card? It just adds another layer of haunting mystery.
Absolutely. What was happening when that call was made? You just don't know.
Moore's family, particularly her father Fred, felt the investigation wasn't moving fast enough, or maybe wasn't exploring all avenues. They started their own searches, expanding into Vermont.
And about 10 days after she disappeared, the FBI officially joined the investigation.
That must have felt like a significant step.
It was. They brought federal resources. There were extensive searches over the following weeks and months. Ground searches, air searches with thermal imaging.
Cadaver dogs were involved too, aren't they?
Yes, multiple times over the years. But these initial large-scale searches didn't turn up anything concrete. They found a piece of ripped women's underwear nearby at one point, but DNA testing showed it wasn't Maura's.
So frustrating. Just dead ends.
Over the years, the search has never really stopped, thanks largely to her family and public interest. There have been more searches, tips coming in.
Like that tip about a rusty knife found near the area linked to a local man.
Right, but that lead apparently didn't pan out. It wasn't substantiated publicly. Private investigators got involved.
And the cadaver dogs hitting on a scent at a nearby house, a frame house, wasn't it?
Yes. Dogs reacted in the closet of a house not far from the crash site. Investigators took carpet samples for analysis.
But the results of that analysis were never released publicly, so another question mark.
Exactly. A reward was offered in 2007, hoping to encourage someone to come forward.
And Maura's dad, Fred, has been incredibly vocal, tireless really, but also critical of how the police handled things early on.
Understandably so, from a father's perspective. He felt leads weren't followed up properly, that maybe the runaway theory was held onto for too long. He's always believed she was abducted,
And tragically, he now believes she's likely deceased.
which is heartbreaking. Over the years, more potential leads surfaced and fizzled out. That house where the dogs alerted. They actually excavated the basement in 2019 based on new ground-penetrating radar scans.
And found nothing.
Nothing connected to Maura. The Blue Ribbon Memorial tree near the crash site was eventually removed. A request for an official historical marker there was denied.
In 2021, bone fragments were found on Loon Mountain, not too far away, generated a lot of hope.
It did. But DNA testing confirmed they were not Maura's remains. Another difficult moment for everyone hoping for answers.
It feels like so many near misses, so many hopes raised and dashed.
It does. But the efforts continue. In 2022, the FBI issued a new national alert for Maura and created a VICAP profile that's the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program.
Which suggests they are still seriously considering foul play, even after all this time.
It indicates an ongoing high level of concern. And just this year, February 2024, on the 20th anniversary,
They released that age progression photo, showing what Maura might look like today.
a really poignant reminder of how long she's been gone and a continued push to keep her face and her case in the public eye. Hope for a breakthrough endures.
You know, Maura's case is interesting too because of when it happened. Right at the dawn of, the social media age.
Absolutely. Facebook literally launched just days before she disappeared. The internet was becoming much more widespread.
And her case really took off online. Message boards, forums, people started dissecting every detail.
It was one of the first big internet mysteries. You had all these people, these armchair detectives, sharing information, developing theories, debating clues.
For better or worse, right? It kept the case alive, definitely put pressure on investigators sometimes.
It did keep her name out there, which is important. But it also created a lot of noise, speculation, sometimes misinformation that investigators had to sift through. A real double-edged sword.
The case has spawned documentaries, books, podcasts. It clearly struck a chord.
That blend of the known and the unknown, the strange details, the seemingly ordinary young woman who just vanished. It's compelling.
If you're finding this deep dive into Maura Murray's disappearance as gripping as we are, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have so many more fascinating stories waiting to be told here on Tell Me More, and you won't want to miss a single one.
So, yeah, after all this time, the disappearance of Maura Murray is still one of the most baffling missing person cases out there.
It started with what seemed like, a simple car accident on a snowy road.
And it just unraveled into this incredibly complex knot of unanswered questions, strange clues, and enduring mystery.
You have this young woman, bright future nursing student, makes these odd preparations, lies about a death in the family, packs her room.
Drives off towards an unknown destination, crashes her car in a remote spot, refuses help, asks the witness not to call the police.
And then disappears, leaving behind her locked car, some belongings, but taking her phone and wallet.
The conflicting witness accounts, the rag in the tailpipe, the lost dog scent, the weird voicemail. It just goes on and on.
We've really only managed to scratch the surface here today. The amount of information, the timelines, the theories, it's vast.
It truly is. People have dedicated years to trying to piece it together.
And that's where we turn it over to you, the listener. We really encourage you, if this case intrigues you, to look deeper. Explore the timelines, read the discussions online.
What details jump out at you? Are there angles or possibilities we didn't touch on that you find compelling?
It makes you think, doesn't it? In this day and age, with cameras everywhere, digital footprints, how does someone just vanish like that?
It's a haunting question. Maura Murray's story is this stark reminder that even now, profound mysteries remain. Some things, some people, can still slip through the cracks.
Thank you for joining us for this exploration into the enduring mystery of Maura Murray here on Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast.